Hmm. Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening and happy Friday. I'm so glad it's Friday. It's been a long freaking week, between election day, the liberal whining, the multiple phone calls from individuals who are not pretty happy about the results of Tuesday, although we are still waiting for two states to come in, but that is neither here nor there. Today's live is about getting back to business. I spent the last couple of episodes and lives covering the election and talking about what we're excited about when it comes to the Trump administration. Today's episode that I released earlier today, I was talking about the whining coming from the left and the analysis that I've been hearing, the honest analysis, and the conversations I've been having with your working class and generational Democrats, right? Voters, not your elite class of the party, but regular folk. But that's over and done with. Trump is the president elect, and we're past all of that. And I'm really glad we are, because I'm glad that my channel is officially getting back to business. The point of this channel, folks, I mean, I say I talk politics, right? And when I say politics, yes, this channel will be covering a lot of the politics that we're going to see happening between now and January 21st. And also, we're going to be covering the Trump administration to see if he's going to, pretty much keep the promises made on the campaign trail with deportations and things of that nature. But politics is also doesn't just mean politics, it means pop culture, hence politics. And we will cover some financial stuff as well, when stuff starts happening in the markets and we start seeing some policies being passed there. But I am happy to be back in my realm of culture. That's really where I want to be for the most part, because I do believe that if we allow woke to take over culture, then future elections are going to be on the line. And I think one thing that we saw overlap between culture and politics is the landslide that we saw on Tuesday, that people were so sick and tired of the wokeness. Now that the woke god is dead, now we can actually get back to business and start dealing with the problems that is modern day society. This secularism, this aggressive female, this triflingness that both men and women seem to have. And I can't wait to actually show you guys some of the clips that I have pulled. One features Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. She actually just did another interview with Nick Cannon. I'm actually really excited to watch that one. However, I will not be showing that one because I like to watch this stuff first before I actually give my reaction. Some things I can watch in real time with you guys, but Dr. Cheyenne Bryant and Nick Cannon, that's something I have to watch in its full, and I can't actually spend the time fast forwarding and things like that, because I want to be able to share my reaction after I have watched the full interview and really pick those clips. But there's a couple, like I said, I want to show you guys an interview that she had done about a month ago, and I'm going to show you guys some conversation that I've seen on the Lapeef network. They're two different subjects, but both are about the problems with modern dating and modern women, and even some, I won't say modern men, but I will say, how men choose their women, right? That's what today's episode is about. Because again, I want to penetrate culture. I want people to stop moving in the 21st century way of doing things. It's like, yeah, technology is out there, right? I have a podcast. I'm able to do this from my house. I no longer have to be in some newsroom studio and have to compete with these elites coming out of college to be on broadcast. I can do it from home. Beauty of technology. I can trade cryptocurrency and stocks myself. I don't have to actually go looking for a broker or, be insulted and criticized and robbed by the bankers, because I can do it myself. Beauty about technology. 21st century is awesome. And to quote Trump, we're headed for a golden age. But old school values is where we need to be when it comes to relationships and when it comes to dating. I think that is like one of the biggest problems. I think it's why marriage rates are down, why divorce rates are up, a bunch of single parent households across races. But Black America has a serious, serious problem. And it's not just one sex that's to blame for it. It's both men and women. And on this channel, you guys know what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I come at everybody. And there's always comments that come in, and some are good and some are bad. When I'm talking crap about the men, the women are in my comments like hoorah, and the men are all like, you just hate men. But when I'm talking smack about women, the men are in my comments like, I'm glad there's someone holding these women accountable. And then the women are like, oh, you just think like a white girl. So I get it from both sides, and I don't care, right? Like I say all the time on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, I am brazen enough to say it. Your fault why you can't achieve it. Because you've been sitting here blaming whites. Oh, it's the white man. It's systemic racism why I can't have generational wealth. Amen and hallelujah to that. Amen and hallelujah. All right, you guys, I know very well I'm going to be saying some stuff that's going to be pissing some people off. That much I know. So I'm going to throw my link in the comment section. So if anyone wants to join in, you totally can. If you want to come on and debate me on where my stance is when it comes to modern dating and modern culture, have at it. I really don't mind. I really like the debate more so because when I have someone on the show, especially on the lives, they tend to last longer. So no promises this is going past 40 minutes to an hour. It may hit an hour and a half, but again, no promises. So I like to do some of the sponsor stuff, but we will save that for the end because I'm super excited to get back to business. I mean, that's why this live is called that because, this whole week I've been covering politics and the election stuff. And I'm proud of the work that I've done on that. Don't get me wrong. But man, I'm so glad this damn election is over because culture is where the big problem is right now. So I want to show you guys this panel on the Lapeef Network. And it's really it's a conversation about what women stood for. It's about feminism. And I said in my episode that I released earlier today that I think feminism broke the country. They broke the country. And what we saw on election day was a bunch of people just kind of reject this new wave of thinking. And I'm not just talking about the trans stuff, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how women just think that it's okay to disrespect men and they want to be Miss Independent and they don't know how to honor a good man when they get one. And that's the first clip that I want to show you because the conversation, you guys, I'm not going to show you this whole thing because it bothered me. I was getting fed up. I'm so sick of the feminists. I am. I stand by what I say. Feminism broke America. It broke the West. It's one thing when the suffragettes wanted the right to vote. But what these women did in the 70s and the late 60s is destroy families. And then a lot of Gen Xers and millennials and Gen Zers were raised by that thinking. Now, I was lucky because my mother is a boomer. And I'm not saying that boomers, especially in the minority groups, didn't pass along their own problems and their own victim mentality, especially if you're a black, right? Because they will tell you that white people aren't the greatest and that this nation is not very good to blacks and to women, even though I was born with all my rights intact. And I said that in my episode earlier today. But I didn't have the problem with feminism raising me. I had a father in the household. I saw what a good marriage was. I saw how a woman is supposed to honor her husband. I saw how a husband is supposed to honor his wife. I saw how a man and a wife put each other first, and then there's a time for a child to be put first. So I saw all of this in my upbringing. So I don't have that problem. But that's not the majority of my generation. Unfortunately, millennials were raised by Gen Xers. Gosh. And that's who you're probably going to find on this panel is a lot of young women talking about what it means to be independent. And I believe there's one woman on here who really talks about what women used to stand for. But before I give you any more of my opinion on that, I'm going to show you what drove me crazy. Honestly, I think when I hit play, y'all are going to know which of these chicks drove me crazy the most. So here we go.
The feminist movement, women were hand in hand Black women were hand in hand with it. We have our own movement called, wominists. And the
What the hell is a womanist? What is that? What is a womanist? Like, I'm so over these. We're only like 3 seconds in, and already I'm annoyed.
womenist movement centers the Black family. But we do have a lot in common with the feminism movement because we are women. And a lot of those causes that they were fighting for are also things that we've had to fight for. So we are.
That's not true. We Black women
It
never
is.
had those issues. When y'all
Thank
saw
you.
white women uprising, y'all smelt blood and y'all smelt a way out so y'all can go and deviate.
See, I disagree with him just a little bit when he said that Black women saw a way out so they can deviate. I don't think that's what Black women did. I think they took the bait coming from the feminist movement. I think he's right there. But why they did it, I don't agree with him on.
And y'all left the
Can
house.
you pinpoint a scenario where we smelled blood and we did what you just said? Can you flesh that out for me?
I took a chance, followed my path.
I'm glad that they're not political ads, but YouTube, man, they kill me.
Okay, so our families were thriving. Let's go back to the 50s, the 40s, 50s, 60s. We were thriving.
Yep.
We were thriving. We had movements come in, particularly the feminist movement. I don't know which wave that was. I don't know whether that's the first or second wave of feminism. But white women were having issues being stay-at-home moms, and they wanted to get out and work. They wanted to be equal. They wanted to be able to do the same thing men did. They wanted to earn money and earn similar wages. Black women didn't have these issues. They were fine in the households raising our children and thrusting them into society.
Yep.
It was whenever the white women start complaining when Black women wanted to get and join those fights, and join those protests.
Yep.
No.
We never had these issues.
We were never, first of all, we never had the luxury of sitting home and thrusting your children into society. Black women.
You know what? She's got the color purple effect, this chick. She's over here thinking that women had it hard because of the movie The Color Purple. And it's like, no. Like, I'm not saying all the men back then were decent to their wives. Majority of them were. Not everybody was getting beat by a Black man in their household. Like, come on, stop that. Now, I have to say, I do think that Black women were targeted by the feminist movement. But if we're going to look at this, let's look at this without race, right? Because that's one of the issues that I have with this specific conversation is that everything is always through that perspective. And that is annoying as hell. The victims of isms is annoying as crap. I got a comment coming in from Arshell Financial. Hello, womanist. Thank you. What the hell is that? What is that? But that's neither here nor there. Let's take race out of this for just a moment. Women were targeted, okay? They wanted society at large, right? Government, the banks, they wanted women to be able to spend money. This is all about money and power. And so we have to let the women become we have to make sure that they can earn more money, because if they're earning money too, then they can be taxed. I mean, feminism didn't take like that. It started in the 60s and it didn't really take until like early 70s. Okay, it had to take some time. You had to convince women that this was good for them. You had to, because not all women wanted that. I mean, let's call a spade. Madam C.J. Walker was a millionaire. She was a millionaire. But there were no feminists around telling her she had to be out there in the world and work and build the business. If you guys ever saw the musical War Paint, this is a show about two women who built business. Now, they had their own petulant problems amongst one another. And if they didn't get so petty, maybe their businesses would have thrived for a very, very, very long time. But that, again, neither here nor there. This was happening before women had the right to vote. So why did the feminist movement need to be created? Because not enough women were out there, and not enough women were spending money. And all government saw was a new tax bracket, a new voting block they can cater to. So we have to go out there and convince women And so all of these campaigns started, and then white women started making their money, and black women in some way became envious, but not on their own some. They weren't biting. They weren't going for it. So what did the government have to do in order to get black women in the workforce, to get black women to want the same things other women wanted? Well, we have to break up the home. We have to break up the home. But the only way you're going to do that is if you put some policies in place, LBJ. That's the only way this is going to work. You got to get the black women to do the same thing the white women are going to do. But this is what happened. Black women were baited into this, but it's not because on the fault of white women. Government wanted a new tax bracket. Government wanted more money. Government wanted a new voting block. And so they convinced women that working in the field, being in the public square, in the corporate office, making your own money, you convinced them. But again, it took time. It's just like with college, right? When they started giving out loans for people to go to college, when it first started, when it was first being made available, no one was taking the bait. No one was going. No one was going. You had to market and advertise. Government had to do that to convince people to take out these loans to go to college. Why? Because the trades is where the money was at. The trades is where it was at. Now everybody got to have a damn college degree. But again, what do we find out? On election day, that like 65% of the American population don't have college degrees. And so you're realizing this elitist crap that they're trying to get us caught up in with isn't conducive for the struggle. And this chick who's a womanist is sitting here saying, no, black women wanted it too. That these white women, we have something in common with the white feminists. The hell with the race card. It's feminism. You women were convinced that your independence would be better for you, and damn the family. To hell with it. I'm not putting a man first. What do you mean? But then you want to get in a relationship and then you want him to put you first, but you can't do that for him. Who are you to be treated like, not to be treated like Queen Elizabeth? Who are you? You have to put him first, just like you're asking, but you want to be Miss Independent. This is the problem with feminism. This is the problem with women today. This is the problem with some of you, most of you. I won't say most of you, but I will say a lot of you. And this is the problem that men have with women. It's just, it is what it is there. And feminism did it. It did. I'm going to play a little bit more of this conversation because I think the debate is pretty intriguing. And then we're going to switch gears just a little bit because I do want to show you guys an exchange that Dr. Cheyenne Bryant had on a different podcast about a month ago. And that's going to show you what I think the problem is with a lot of men today when they're making their choices. But we're going to finish this up first.
Women have always worked, always. So it was in our best interest to actually make sure that we are getting livable, fair wages for our work.
But you were
okay,
married.
Well, then you show me a scenario where you worked. Because from my research, black women were the last out of everybody to be able to get employment or even earn any type of wages.
Black people are always the last. Black men were the last. I didn't say
black people. I said black women.
Yes, black people in general are always the last. So just like black men were the last to get their right to vote of all the men and all the demographics, of course, black women are going to be the last to get their rights as it pertains to women's rights.
Of course.
That's how that power structure works. That's how white supremacy works.
Oh gosh, I'm tired of hearing that crap.
So here's the question: why did black women wait until white women got out with the signs and all that to actually do something? If black women had a problem with the condition or the situation they was in, thriving under a black man's leadership and being a wife, a suitable wife, and raising a family, nuclear family, why wait until these white women get out here and start these movements for them to get out there and break up their families and try to piggyback on the same similar movements from their counterparts?
Let's set something straight.
Question.
Right?
Oh my gosh. All these ads are killing me, you guys. At least it's not
Um,
A lot
political.
of
so
black
my
Gotta
women
take the
used to
blessing.
use like white women. Like a lot of those ideas that the white women came out with was pushed by a lot of black women behind closed doors because when they spoke out, we got different retaliations when we spoke out than
I can't even with this, you guys. Like, I swear to you, I can't even. Like, sometimes people know a lot about nothing. Okay? They know a lot about nothing. These women are so uneducated about their own history, and a lot of it has to do with government and the banking system. They wanted power and they wanted to make more money, and so they convinced all women to go out into the workforce. And it took some time to convince them to do that. It took some time. Okay, when you have feminists in the 70s on record saying that we have to force women out there if they don't choose it. Why? Because not enough women were making the choice to leave their home, to go work. What? Why? I will educate my kids. I will put little John or little JJ to sleep, and then husband comes home. My child is doing their homework at the dinner table. I'm giving his time to transition. Here's your scotch neat husband. Here's a plate for you, husband. I'm going to go put JJ to bed. When you're ready, come give him a kiss goodnight. And then it's me and him time. But women were okay with doing that, especially when technology came. You don't got to go to the water to go wash your clothes. You have a washing machine. You can do all the stuff that we were doing in the 1800s. It's done automatic now. We have technology. So a lot of the things were easy. You were fine with keeping the home. You were fine with that. Educate your kids. You would have your community amongst women. And then the husbands come home from their trade. And then you have me and him time. What was wrong with that? Nothing. And the government knew that. And so we have feminists were saying we have to force these women out there so that way they have to get a job, so that way they have to make their own money. This is why they kept inflation going up. The dollar value isn't high enough anymore. And so you're forced to work. Now wives have to go out there and make an income too. The standard had to change. He can't be the only one making money anymore because cost of living is so damn high. And husbands were getting pissed because they're like, my wife is mad at me that I don't make enough, but it's the government's fault for making shit so expensive. This was the reality in the late 60s and 70s when feminism was coming in. You have no idea how much intertwined with government this idea and this concept really was. And now it's become like this generational curse because nobody knows the root cause. I love saying that because that was Kamala Harris's job. I had to get that out there. But because no one actually knows the root cause of feminism being raised by these feminists who genuinely believe it was for their best interest to be that. Now you got all these modern women running around here thinking I'm Miss Independent. I don't have to listen to a man. I don't have to cater to a man, but he has to listen to me. He's got to cater to me. And then want to bitch and moan when there's no eligible men. What? What do you mean? They don't want you being aggressive with them. They don't want you to lord your degree over them. They don't actually care if you make more money than they do. They really don't care. Don't emasculate him. You're mad if he's a plumber, but the plumber's making like $150,000 a year. Oh, he got to be making $1 million. Chick walk. That's how these men have to be nowadays because you women are crazy out of your mind and wanting to be independent. And that's the problem with women in today's modern society. But with that being said, I got to flip the script a little bit, folks. Okay? Because it ain't just the women. All right? It's not. Some of you men don't pick well. You don't. And that actually brings me to the conversation between Dr. Cheyenne Bryant when she was on this other podcast about a month ago. And I believe this podcast is called The Table. And in this conversation, the host, I don't really know his name. I think it's like AO or something like that, but don't quote me on that. One of the things that they discuss is how he approached a woman about a year ago. They were dating, and he even says why he stayed and why he picked her. And Dr. Bryant pretty much goes on to talk about yeah, you made a mistake there. And that's the problem with the choices that men are making. I have another comment coming in, ladies and gentlemen, from our show. Financial, LOL, maybe John Boy, LOL. Word. Word. Oh gosh. I'm gonna show you guys this conversation between Dr. Bryant and AO. Again, I don't really watch his podcast like that, but I have been listening to a lot of Dr. Bryant. I do like her. I like some of the stuff that she has to say. Personally, I don't really dig the wealth stuff that when she talks about that, because I don't really watch her for that. I do like her approach when talking about self-discovery, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and things like that. That I'm down with listening to. And some of the dating trends that we're seeing in modern society, where you're talking about the problems with the divorce rate and the marriage rates in today's society. And I tend to agree with a lot of what she has to say on that. Broken families, broken homes. She does go in depth about a lot of those problems, and a huge amount of those problems do lie in Black America and in the Black community. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, because I'm a hybrid baby. So I really don't feel this innate loyalty to Black America. That's number one. And number two, my entire life, I've been criticized and insulted. Uncle Tom, Oreo, wannabe white girl, Carlton. I mean, think about it. If I were gay and Black and acted white, they would call me a Klondike bar. I mean, they called me everything else. So I don't have this loyalty to Black America, but I do find it to be a serious problem, because I feel like I'm Black America, and people who behave the way that I do, people who who have modesty, people who women specifically who show grace and intelligence, men who don't sag their pants, men who are intelligent. I don't care about a little slang here or there. I don't mind a little ebonics here or there. I mean, I say it here, right? Ain't. But there is a level of decorum that I would expect in public, right? Watch your mouth. Don't listen to this trifling music. Respect yourself and women. Don't have this large body count, because you wouldn't want me to have a body count, so you shouldn't have one. I get that young men have to settle their wild oats. I mean, that's been the truth since the beginning of man. You always had to settle your oats, but good God, a body count of 500 women before you're 30, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But let a woman say she's got 10 bodies on her, she's nasty. I mean, again, this is a channel about what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You men pick terribly sometimes, and sometimes you make the pick only to smash. But then when you're ready to settle down, you're so used to attracting that kind of a woman that you're just wanting to smash, that you're trying to force her to be in a place of marriage. And it's like, but why would you think the chick who's trying to keep up with your libido is going to be a good wife? And that's what's one of the things in this conversation that I actually thought was pretty damn good. So that's what we're going to hit play on. So get right to it.
Sis,
See,
you find value in saving because you were never, you didn't
let's
get
see.
the person, these women, because shift in
Here it
I did
is.
a show a year ago with a guy named R.C. Blakes. That's another show y'all two would just do real good on. But about a year and a half ago, I was dating this young lady. This is what I led with. Tell me if I'm wrong.
We in session now, y'all. We in session.
This is what I led with. I said, she said, it's like our second conversation. She called me a narcissist. And I said, I want a wife. I'm a family man. So I'm dating with the intent of marriage. Second conversation. She said, you should never tell a woman that, because it makes me feel like you're trying to force me in a situation where I do not want to go.
That's another problem with you women. You say you want a good man, you get a good man, but then he says you want marriage, and then you walk away because you're not ready to give up your whole days. I mean, what is wrong with the women today? You guys make it harder for the rest of us who actually date with the intent to find the one, not to just have fun. right? There's a lot of women who don't want to be a hoe and enjoy hoe days. And so you guys ruin it for the rest of us who, when we meet a man, all we want is marriage. But you done screwed him up in the head and in his emotions, that now he's no longer in that place to commit because you done broke his spirit. Like, what is the matter with you women?
I didn't lead with looks. I didn't lead with success. I led with like, hey, this is what I want. This is where I'm going. And the narcissist came up because she said, hey, I'm going out with a male friend.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, cool, great. What time you getting home?
Men and women can't be friends. Let's be clear. You can't be friends. If you're friends with a man, this is a courtship. Okay? You cannot be friends with men. Not good friends. Like no single straight alpha male can be a woman's best friend. You are, what's the word? You are instinctively going to respond to him. You are a woman. It's what we do. It is in our nature. When a real alpha walks up on us, there's no way you're going to be just a friend with him. You're going to respond physically, emotionally, mentally, because that's just the way of things. It's nature. So you women running around here with these good-looking straight alpha men, male friends, if you want a relationship that isn't the friend, drop the friend. I'm just going to make that clear.
She was like, why? I was like, well, I just want to make sure you get home safe. She says, sounds a little controlling, don't you think? I said, well, I told you I'm dating with the intent, and I'm trying to show you that I value your safety. Never questioned the man. I'm not intimidated by another man, but I did question, like, hey, what time are you getting home? Because I wanted to make sure that I text you, that I wake up, and I let you know, like, hey, I was thinking about you to make it home safe. I had to cut her go. I had to let her go. Because she called me a narcissist for leading with my intent of marriage and my importance of family. Because if anyone knows anything about me, my team would tell you this, my community would tell you this, I'm very family driven, right? I love family. I value family.
That's
and
a big
I
deal.
see how my dad has become a better man, not just because of my
I gotta say it. What is wrong? What was wrong with this woman? He's good looking. He's making money. He says he wants to get married. What is her problem? I know I did say that this segment was going to be about how men choose, and I am. But this whole his testimony about this chick is bothering me because women are really like that. What is wrong with you?
wife, but because of him even being a father. And so I'm like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And so I work hard today, not to have the nice things that I have, but to provide
Come
a
on.
nice
Quality of life.
quality of life to my future family. And so from your perspective,
Mhm.
psychology expert,
Mhm.
did I lead wrong?
Do you like having a PO box but are
Mother sweet baby air. Right when it starts to get good, right? They drop an ad.
So I'm going to break it up in a few parts, okay?
Okay.
I'll answer your question first.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
And you know I'll push against you because I've been pushing against you the whole time we've been talking off camera. You know that, right?
Fast.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You led 100% right.
Okay.
Yep.
When she called you a narcissist, she was gaslighting.
Yep.
When she initially said to you or don't tell me your intent
Yeah,
because you're making me feel like you're trying to force me,
exactly.
that already told you she didn't want it.
Mm.
That was your exit. To me, that was God saying she's not in alignment with you.
Mhm.
The second thing, was her father in her life? I'm just curious because she sounds like a fatherless girl. I was on point with that. Let me tell you how I knew that, okay? Whenever a woman has a problem with a man providing protection, which means what time are you getting home?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot more to this. And he goes on to talk about how but she had a nice body. She had a nice body, curves, all that. And it's like, okay, you guys are attracted to, I get it. You want the Coca-Cola body, you want the pretty girl. But the pretty girl is always the problem. The pretty girl wants to party. The pretty girl doesn't want to commit. The pretty girl is disrespectful and most likely aggressive and treats you like garbage. The pretty girl wants to be Miss Independent. You want the woman who has the nice body, but it's like, you guys ever see that triangle? I know it's difficult to see, obviously, but it's like it says fast, good, and cheap. And the thing is, you can't have all three from that triangle. You can only ever get two of the three, right? If it's fast and good, it won't be cheap. If it's cheap and good, then it won't be fast. That's how you got to look at the women sometimes. If you want your relationship to move quickly because you're not the kind of person who wants to be in a relationship for 1 year, for 2-3 years, just dating and not yet been married. No, I want the relationship to move at a good enough pace, right? And when it comes to relationships, about a year is a reasonable amount of time to decide if this woman is worth marrying. Hell, you should have figured that out by the second, third month if she was worth it. If you remove sex off the table, right? Because that's the thing. You can't be sleeping with her. You can't. I watched this podcast earlier today that was talking about sex magic, right? And the spells that both men and women find themselves in. Relationships that you're in for way too long because you're sleeping with one another. You knew from the jump that this wasn't a good relationship for you, especially because they showed you who they were from the very first date. If you're honest about what you want. And I'm one of those people. I don't wait to the third date to say I want marriage, children, family. I say that on the first date. I'm not wasting my time. If you don't want it, then I know that from the jump. I'm not going to spend a year dating you, sleeping with you when you don't want these things. Take the time, take sex off the table. But men, you have to pick correctly. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself with one of these womanists who want to be independent, who won't cater to you, who doesn't create the safe space for you to be vulnerable, and then is mad at you because it's not about her all of the time. That's what you're running into. And that was his fault there, because it's like Dr. Bryant said, she gave him an out. The second she said, don't force me into it, or you're making me feel pressured into wanting those things too. Well, chick, if you don't want those things, I'm out. But what does he say later on in the podcast? It did not show that part to you. He says, but she had a good body. That's y'all's problem. You're getting so caught up in the pretty girl. And that's one of the issues. And these pretty girls are usually the feminists. The pretty girls don't value family. They value independence. They value getting the bag themselves. They don't value supporting a husband. In fact, they get mad at you that you don't make enough, that you don't make more money. They don't. They want you to make $1 million. You need to be making 6 figures for them to even pay attention to you. $500,000. Like what? Now, it's not to say that men don't have their own ambition, that men don't want those things for themselves, but you should be looking for women who say to you, you don't have to be a millionaire. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But I'm telling you, it's not mandatory. It's not an obligation. It's not a prerequisite. You don't need to make $1 million. You don't need to do all of those things. You don't have to be you don't have to be that. Right? That's the kind of woman you men should be looking for, but you want the pretty girl. And so you men have to decide. And there's a lot of stuff in the manosphere that are talking about how, you got women who don't have swag, who aren't bad, who don't know how to do their hair this, if you're within the Black culture, who don't want to do this and don't want to do that. And I need a woman with experience, but at the same time, they want a virgin. What do you want? What do you want? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. It takes 2 to tango, and it takes 2 to wreck dating. It really does. It really does. Unfortunately, the way that people look at relationships today, they look at them when I say they look at them far too transactional. And when I say that, I don't mean emotions, right? It's she'll give you sex if you take her out. She don't want flowers. She doesn't want a picnic. She doesn't want the Cheesecake Factory. She doesn't want the movies anymore. She doesn't want a coffee date. But then you go and take her out to these lavish things, these luxurious things, spending money that you know damn well you don't want to be spending, that you shouldn't be spending, because all you want is to sleep with her. But now you men have to work on yourselves because you're attracting that kind of female. And then every now and again, a good one slips through to you, and then you don't know what to do. You don't. This podcast actually with Dr. Bryant was pretty it was intriguing, and it was eye-opening because it did help me self-reflect on my previous relationship that I just ended up about a few weeks ago. And it did make me think about where I messed up, where I should have really focused on the things that he was saying to me, right? And the same goes for him. Right. I'm like some things Dr. Bryant says is really informative. And I would tell you guys, I advise you guys to listen to some of the stuff. I don't really listen to her for wealth. I don't go to her for that. And I know a lot of people are saying, but she's single herself and she's wrecked 4 relationships and yada, 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 yada. I'm not saying she gives the best relationship advice. I'm simply saying the self-awareness that she tries to educate people on is very important. And the art of emotional intelligence and comprehension, because that's important. You got to know what somebody's putting down. You have to know that. And you have to know what you're attracting. You have to know that. I mean, I'm not one of these people who talk about high vibrations and frequencies and things of that nature. Dr. Bryant does do a lot of that. And sometimes it sounds too guru-y for me. So I, click off. Once it starts sounding too much guru, I really do I'm off to the next podcast. But what I will say, though, is that if you're someone who's broken inside, you're going to attract a person that's broken. If you're someone who feels like you're more fulfilled in being of service and helping people, you're 9 chances out of 10 going to attract someone who's broken inside. That's where I was. That was my situation. And so I had to self-reflect because I don't want to fix a person. Now, it's okay to not be perfect, but you can't be with someone who it's not so much about controlling and all of that stuff. Although there is that on the female side. She needs to control everything and she doesn't know how to handle a man who's an alpha. But men have to decide what they want. And when they get what it is that they want, they have to adjust their behavior. Stop thinking you have to act the way these fast-ass girls need you to act and need you to be, because you don't have to be that when you have a good girl. And women, when you get a man like AO, be submissive. Learn to be feminine. Stop being so damn aggressive and stop trying to be Miss Independent. Let him be the alpha and stop butting heads. This is the problem in modern day society and modern dating. And this is one of the issues that young people are having today, especially when you're the normal person, right? When you're not the pretty girl, because I'm honest, I'm not the pretty girl. I don't wear weave. I don't beat my face like that. I don't. But again, I'm one of these people who's fulfilled by being of service. And so I had the issue of attracting someone who needed that kind of emotional aid. And that's not the role for me to play. But I had to be a little bit more self-aware. So figuring out who you are and what you want out of life. And if you're a woman who doesn't want to give up her independence, give up the hope of being married to a good man. Give up the hope of being married to an alpha because you want to be Miss Alpha. You don't want to learn to submit. You want to be a womanist. Oh my gosh, that's so stupid. And you men, gosh, when you find a good girl, keep her. Adjust your behavior and your attitude. Stop being so a kind of way. And I said this on another live that I had done, not on my show, but on a different channel. And I said, we live in a society where there are a lot of hoes from both men and women. Men and women both are hoes today. Men have a body count that's reaching 1,000 and women have a body count that's reaching over 100, 200, 300 men. This is a problem. The hoes got to change their behaviors and they got to start marrying each other. But you got to change your behavior. It has to change. It has to. Otherwise, the divorce rates are going to continue. More babies are going to continue to be aborted. We're going to see our population continuing to dwindle. And I'm not just talking about Black culture. I'm talking about American babies. There's not going to be a lot of us if we keep aborting them. There's not going to be a lot of marriages if no one's getting married and no one's learning to trust one another. But how the hell can you do that if no one changes their behavior? This is one of the things that I like watching when I do watch The Manosphere and when I do watch Dr. Brian. It does provide a little bit perspective and some insight to what the problems are in culture. And again, that's the point of this channel, to look at what's happening in culture, call it out, and then provide some damn solutions. Men, stop going for the pretty girl, and pretty girls, get your act together. Take off the weave, wipe off the makeup. Get yourself together. Do some soul searching. Who are you without all of that? The both of you. Again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander on this channel. I have no problem calling out for both sides. Both sides. It's not something I don't have. I enjoy doing it. Because I do believe if you call it out and you bring these conversations up to the surface, you're going to piss people off enough where one of two things happen. People will take accountability for their bad behavior and be open to solutions. Or two, they're going to push back and be disrespectful. I've gotten both of those reactions from this channel, which means I'm doing my job. I like to call it out and then offer solutions. And some of them you guys may think is controversial. You guys are going to say to me, well, no man is going to get with a woman with a body count of 20 men. But why do you think women are going to get with a man with a body count of 1,000 women? Because he makes money? This is where the transactional comes in, but that's not the kind of transaction that she's looking for. She wants security, safety, but how the hell is she going to be safe if your body count is so damn high? How does she know that you are safe to be with physically when your body count is 1,000? You clearly didn't care enough about your own physical health. Why would I think that you care about mine? I know why women are hoes. There was some kind of a trauma that broke them emotionally, spiritually, that led them down that path. And so you heal them in time before they get hurt by some kind of a disease. You men just want to throw numbers up on the board. It's totally different. Not to say that there aren't men who haven't been traumatized and sexually assaulted and that led them down the path, because that does happen. But those numbers mostly are high because men generally just want to compete with one another and throw numbers on the board, because there's a lot of P word out there. There's a lot of P word out there. And y'all will sleep with anything that moves. So she don't got to be the pretty girl. But come on, that's what you're attracted to. That's what you're going to go for. But the young woman who isn't wearing the tight clothes and the bodycon dress, she's not wearing all that makeup. She's not wearing weave. She's wearing her natural hair. You guys don't gravitate toward her until you're in the place to be married. But by the time you're ready, the good girl, the not pretty girl, the regular girl has found a husband. There's a lot of these podcasts happening in the manosphere where they're talking about how Black women are complaining about how there's not enough eligible Black men for them. And it's like, no, there's plenty of men that are eligible. You just aren't. You're not desirable. You aren't. And then there's a lot of men who say that there aren't that many good women, Black women that are eligible, meaning that they're not aggressive, that they are submissive, feminine, and so forth. We exist. We do. But you haven't fixed yourself spiritually, mentally, to lead this good girl down the right path of family and marriage. You haven't done that. You're not moving in the traditional state, which is what a good girl needs you to do. You have to be traditional. Take sex off the table. Court her, get to know her, and vice versa. Learn each other's quirks, learn each other's temperaments, learn all of these things about one another, and then get married. None of these 2, 3, 4, 5 years of dating and then living with each other and then breaking up, trying out marriage. This is what happens with couples. And then people who should have been married aren't. But that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. I told you, unless there's a guest on, I really don't spend an hour, hour and a half, 3 hours on a live. I really just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the modern problems with dating and the culture today, especially because I'm seeing how that trend in dating today overlapped with politics on November 5th. I mean, direct correlation between what happened on the 5th and everything wrong with men and women today. I mean, direct correlation. We can go a little bit further into it on another episode that I will be releasing. If not tomorrow, then on Monday, because you guys know Sunday is a fun day for me, and I don't really like to cover too much about the societal norms. I really like to cover music videos, and I do have a music video for you guys for this Sunday. So I can't wait for that. If you guys haven't already, make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribe, hit the bell so you know anytime I go live, release a new episode or a short, which I don't do much of anymore. If you guys are interested in supporting the show, ladies and gentlemen, I would greatly appreciate it. Support the show. You guys can Cash App me. Cash App is Asia Sade 1. Also, we entered the season of Perpetual Hope. Christmas music has already started. And so I will be making the link of Roots Retreat House available later on in the description section for anybody who wants to be of service and donate their dollars to help Roots Retreat House provide a Thanksgiving meal to anyone that's living on the streets here in Dallas, Texas. Enjoy the rest of your night, ladies and gentlemen. Have an awesome sauce weekend. Till next time.